A man known as the captain led my father into a small room. I quickly followed behind my dad. The captain, who was smiling gently just moments ago, now looked stern. He stared at both of us, clearly displeased. His voice was deep and intimidating. "You two don't belong in first class. It lowers the standard. Please leave. This is my final warning." My unyielding father's words made the captain's face turn pale as he called his company for confirmation. "We'll prepare your seats right away. I'm deeply sorry for the inconvenience." The captain apologized profusely. What's the true identity of my gentle, helpful father that was revealed during his retirement celebration? "My name is Bill. While my friends are getting married one after another, I'm enjoying my life. I'm planning to relax at my parents' house during the summer break. By the way, I heard Mary is expecting her second child." "Really? How old is her first one?" "I think she just had the baby recently. Time flies, huh?" "When are you planning on it, Belle?" "Someday. Just make sure you don't rush and end up with the wrong person. Think it through." Even though my parents' house isn't far from my apartment, I've been less eager to visit over the years. Whenever casual conversations turn to marriage and kids, I feel a bit left out. I know my parents mean well, and they know I love kids. My dad is retiring at the end of the year. He's always hoped to see his grandkids while he's still healthy, but it seems that won't be happening anytime soon. Growing up, we moved a lot because of my dad's job. I've always been good with people, but not so good at showing vulnerability. My mom used to tell me to be someone who can help others. I took that to heart, and now I'm the go-to person at work and in my personal life. This made me appear strong, and while men rely on me, they don't often see me romantically. I might be the typical, I can live on my own type you see in comics. "Where's Dad?" "He went out shopping." "Isn't it a bit late for shopping?" "You know Dad. He's probably helping someone out again." "Didn't he save a drowning kid once?" "Yes, I was so worried then. He said he was going shopping and didn't come back for a while." "That's scary." "Was the kid from our neighborhood?" "I don't know. I only heard about it from your dad." "I hope you find someone like your dad, Belle. Someone who can help others in a pinch." "Sure, Mom." When Dad comes back, I've decided to make a special proposal to show my gratitude. "I'm back." "You're late?" "Hey, Belle, welcome back." "Thanks. Where did you go shopping?" Dad walked in from the entrance with bags from the local supermarket. It's only a 10-minute drive to the supermarket. It seemed like he took a bit too long for such a short trip. As soon as my mother saw my father, she headed to the kitchen to reheat the prepared meal. I stood up to set the table when my father's cell phone rang. "Hello?" While on the call, my father discreetly stepped out of the living room. I felt something was off about his behavior, but since my mother seemed concerned, I brushed it off. After the call, the three of us sat down for dinner, and I brought up a topic. "How about we all go on a trip to celebrate your retirement, Dad? I've got some brochures." I put down my fork and pulled out several brochures from my bag. I'm not making a ton of money, so we'll have to stick to places I can afford. But let it be my gift to you. I started saving a few years ago, thinking I'd use it for either my wedding or my father's retirement. Thanks to that, I have several options, both domestic and international. "Thanks, Bill. Let's take a look later." Ever since I started working, my respect and gratitude for my parents grew. I understood the challenges of raising a child without any financial struggles, especially after hearing stories from my friends who were parents. I just hoped my parents could feel a fraction of the gratitude I felt for them. I've always wanted to visit Europe. That sounds great, but can you get the time off, Belle? I'll have to plan it out, but I think my colleagues will understand if we can take a longer break. Maybe we can go abroad. Otherwise, a short domestic trip would be fun. Fine. Don't worry about me. Let's go wherever you want, Dad. After dinner, we looked through the brochures, discussing potential destinations. Every place looked so appealing with beautiful sceneries and delicious food. This looks delicious. You two are all about the food, huh? We laughed and debated, eventually narrowing down our choices to about 5 destinations before deciding to sleep on it. The next day after lunch, as we were enjoying our coffee, my father received another phone call. He answered with a hello and stepped into the hallway. Has Dad been getting a lot of calls lately? Maybe more recently he's retiring, so maybe it's work-related. Don't you ever ask who's calling? I don't pry into such things. Don't you get curious? We're not newlyweds at our age. I don't get upset over a phone call. Is that how it is? That's how it is. It's fine. If something comes up, we'll deal with it then. My mother's calm response was reassuring, but I still felt uneasy. As we were discussing this, my father finished his call and returned. Who was on the phone? Oh, just someone. Someone you can't tell us about, actually. I was thinking, what if we splurge on hotels and meals but save on flights? What do you think? That sounds good, but where can we find affordable flights? I've got a lead on some good deals. Can you trust me with it? Of course, of course. Sounds good, right, Belle? Yeah, sounds great, thanks, Dad. I wasn't entirely convinced, but since my mother wasn't concerned, I decided not to press the issue. I resolved not to question my father's actions any further. The next day, we settled on an international destination and began considering potential dates. At my workplace, vacations are scheduled in rotation. When I proposed the dates to my colleagues, they quickly agreed. When it came time to book, my parents expressed a wish to save money for the future, so we agreed that I would pay a bit more than half of the trip's cost. However, my father insisted on handling the flight arrangements, including payment. Time flew as we prepared our passports, packed our suitcases, and researched our destination. Finally, the day before our trip, I left work a bit early and returned to my parents' house. Oh, look at the time. Hearing this, my mother headed to the kitchen to prepare dinner. My father, seemingly following her lead, headed straight for the front door. Where are you off to, Dad? Just a quick errand. Will you be back by dinner? Yeah, I'll be quick. Be right back. Where did Dad go? I'm not sure. He didn't mention anything about going out today. What should we have for dinner? My mother began preparing dinner, and my unease about my father's behavior grew. However, he returned in about an hour. Where were you? Oh, just out. You've been acting strange lately. What's going on? I'll tell you later. Don't worry about it. My suspicions grew, but with our celebratory trip starting tomorrow, I didn't want to cause any tension. I decided to prioritize enjoying the trip. On the day of the trip, while my father exchanged our tickets, my mother and I headed to the baggage drop. I'll be right back. Need to use the restroom. Got it. We'll wait here. As I walked to the restroom, I spotted my father. He looked tense, seemingly in a disagreement with an airline employee. We made a reservation. I'm sorry, but we don't have any record of it. Just find us 3 seats. I'm truly sorry, but we don't have any available seats. That can't be right. There were seats available when I checked yesterday. I understand your frustration, but we don't have any seats. This is unacceptable. Please find a solution. My usually calm father was raising his voice. Suddenly, a tall, tanned man approached. He signaled to the staff and then addressed my father. Excuse me, sir. The captain. What seems to be the problem? We made a reservation, but they are saying it's not in the system. Plus, they're claiming there are no available seats. I even received a confirmation call about the reservation. I understand. Could you please come with me? The man referred to as the captain gestured to a door on the wall. I quickly followed my father. Once inside the small room, the captain's previously friendly demeanor changed. He looked at my father and me with a displeased expression. His voice was deep and intimidating. You made a reservation to first class, correct? Yes, that's right. So, if there were available seats in first class, there should have been at least 3 available, right? Do you even know what first class means? It's not for people dressed like you. Don't you get it? Is this how your airline trains staff, to judge people by their appearance? It's impressive that a captain would come out and insult a customer like this. I don't care about that. Having someone dressed as shabbily as you in first class would lower our standards. Please leave. We hadn't been told we'd be flying first class, and given the long flight, we had dressed for comfort. Still, the captain's words angered me. This is your last warning. Prepare 3 seats in first class. If you don't, this might be your last flight. My usually calm father spoke with such authority. It took me by surprise. The captain looked equally shocked, as if thinking, "What is this guy talking about?" "I'll be in charge of personal decisions for this airline starting next year, so I'll be the one deciding your fate." "That's impossible. If you don't believe me, check with your boss. My name is Wilson David." With such confidence in my father's voice, the captain began making a phone call. As he spoke, his face turned pale. "I deeply apologize, Mr. Wilson David. We'll prepare your first-class seats right away." "Good. Make sure you do. And about the personnel matter you mentioned earlier. Come on, Belle, let's go." I'm truly sorry." As my father walked back to me, the captain called out to him with a loud voice. When my father turned around, the captain was deeply apologizing. "I assure you, this isn't our usual behavior." "Usually different, huh? Seems like you've been hiding your true nature. Anyway, thanks for arranging the seats." With that, my father patted my shoulder and headed to the boarding gate. While waiting for the plane, my father explained everything. Years ago, he had saved a child from drowning in a river. That child's father turned out to be the CEO of this airline. They had maintained a casual relationship since, exchanging Christmas cards and occasional gifts. One day, the CEO called my father. He had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. His son was already working, but he wanted someone trustworthy by his side. That's when he thought of my father. My father, who had once rushed to save a stranger's child, had some knowledge of the aviation industry, which made him a suitable choice. After some contemplation, my father accepted the offer. His recent phone calls and outings were to discuss the transition with the CEO and his son. In the end, the captain who had deeply apologized was reportedly let go after our flight. When I reported the captain's situation to the president's son and asked the current personnel department to interview the captain's surroundings, I found that he got angry with his colleagues and juniors and harassed customers he didn't like. It was discovered that he had been doing this after hearing from colleagues and subordinates about his behavior. The CEO was furious and decided to fire him. Our family celebrated both my father's retirement and his new high-ranking position by enjoying the best trip ever. After returning, my father seemed even more involved in his work than before. Hearing about it from my mother, I realized that the role of HR might be very fulfilling for my father, who loves helping others. Witnessing the connections my father made by prioritizing others over himself, I decided to live my life